Now let's talk gifter automation. And I don't mean like the last video. I mean, this time I'm going to try to do it without XNet, and I want it to be more consistent and reliable to work it for long periods of time. So that's what we're going to do today. And I'm not going to drag this out. You can call me Zoofy, Zuffy, Zoofi, or Zoof, and this is Zoofology. To start this off, I'm going to place a router, and then 2 temporary blocks above it, and another router. Now, I'm going to come underneath it a little bit, and place a sequencer pointed down from RF Tools Utility, and a Redstone transmitter. We'll configure those in a bit. I'm going to place a destructor against the first temporary block, and an importer against the modular router. Now, both of these need to be set to Redstone mode, and this one on the bottom needs to have these 2 gifters blacklisted and exact mode off. Now, next up, I'm going to come back behind it and place a few blocks like this. Now, if I want to hide this, hide all the wiring back here, then I would just build a wall right here. And then from this side, you won't see that. And I can break that bottom block now, that's fine. I'll keep the top one though. So from there, I'm going to grab a sensor and place 2 sensors just like that. Now a Redstone transmitter, and on this same frequency, I'm going to apply this transmitter to this transmitter to put them on the same frequency. Now I need both types of gifters. And I'm going to have the front one be an area of 3 and look for this gifter. So 1, 2, 3. It will now send a redstone signal if this gifter or this type of gifter is here. This one will check for this type of gifter in an area of 5. And that's an area directly behind it. So it'll look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I started the wrong place, but you get the point. Now, from there, I'm going to break this because it's just in my way for now. And I'm going to grab a receiver. I'm going to come back to this first transmitter and get the same frequency and have this pointed down into my destructor. I'm going to take a look at this sequencer. I'm going to tick this very last block and set this to once 2. When a redstone signal is received, it will restart. So I want this to each block to last half a second, so 10 ticks. And so 10 times 63 is 630 ticks. The big gifters should produce after 600 ticks. So that gives about 1.5 seconds of leeway. If 1.5 seconds happens after like it should produce and it doesn't, then it will send a redstone signal down into this transmitter, which tells this receiver when to tell this destructor to break the gifter on top of it. So when the gifter is no longer producing, it will be broken. And the reason you have to have refined storage for this is, for whatever reason, the only mod that can break a gifter and not just completely destroy it and void it is the destructor. So next, I need yet another redstone receiver, and I'm going to set it to this frequency. Now these should both be on the same frequency, as said earlier. And it'll be pointing into this router. Now let's go ahead and configure our routers. So this router should be set to low mode. And I'm going to grab, well, I'll configure this one in a bit. But this one, I need a detector module and a placer module. Placer module, I'll have placing up. However, I want it whitelisted to only place gifters. Now, I am aware there is boss gifters. This isn't going to work well with too many because, as you can see, we're currently sensing an area of 3, an area of 5 for this one. There is no area of 7. So if you wanted to also have the boss ones possible, you would just put that below this somewhere. So you put your sensor down here, and then below that, the same frequency transmitter as these back here. That's if you wanted to do more, but that's up to you. So what is intended to happen is when this gets anything in its inventory, it should be sending a redstone signal. You can see that it's working right now. It's sending a redstone signal behind it as well as under it. And the same goes for when it gets a gifter. It'll get that redstone signal, and then it should send it directly up. Which, oh, right. You can't have this block here. There you go. So if you notice as well, I am building this facing south because when placed by a router, gifters will always be facing north. So if you want it to look nice in your base and have the gifters facing you, I suggest having the whole build facing north. Next up, we need to tell this one to pull. So we're going to grab a puller module and tell it to pull from here. But again, it should only do that when it doesn't have a redstone signal. Right now, it should be getting a redstone signal because this gifter is already here. So it did not pull. That's what we want. If this gifter was broken, it would pull. Now I need a sender. Oh, we can actually use a normal sender because these can actually send wirelessly as long as they have direct line of sight to what they're trying to send to. So I'm going to put this in here and middle click to configure and have down configured. So now if it gets line of sight and it has a signal, it will send. So let's watch what happens whenever this gifter runs out. And what happens if it runs out, it no longer sends items down here. And then the sequencer would finish its sequence, transmit, and tell this to break it. So it's going to break it. So it pulled it, and for some reason, it didn't send it. It's sending down. Oh, because it still had an item. So there you go. That should work just like that. However, this is made one wide. So what that means is it is perfectly tileable. And by tileable, I mean, well, like this. I have 8 of them now. And I'm actually going to come down here and we need a controller. Now, I suggest doing this hooked into your own system. Now, you are going to need to have some type of storage hooked into your system, of course, to be able to store all the stuff. And you're going to want an external storage or something, or a drive or anything really. Now we want to make this more consistent. I'm going to start by placing a router 1 block away from a cable. Then I'm going to grab an exporter and connect it up. Whitelist cobblestone into it, and then cobblestone can go in your system. It'll slowly pipe into the router. So now I want to speed this up just a little bit. And I'm going to fill this router with a stack upgrade, 9 speed upgrades, and a distributor, which I crouch and right clicked and applied each one of those. So that's what's going to happen, but we don't want that to happen right now. We want it to only happen when it gets a redstone signal. Now I'm going to grab my sequencer and I'm going to point this into this router. Now it's going to be the first tick. I want it to also be 20 and a sequence length of 34. That's what I want right there. And we're going to set this to loop 1. So now, every now and then, some cobblestone is going to be sent into these routers. That way it restarts the timer for the destructor to have a chance to see that redstone signal. And then the next time it doesn't get it, and then it destroys the gifter. Otherwise, you could be left with some inconsistency where the gifters stay dead on the router. Now we should go ahead and set up the collection of the statue as well as the Omega statue. So we're going to need a cauldron because I want it to automatically send to a cauldron. I think that'd be great. So we might do something like maybe we'll put the cauldron right here, and we'll put a collection router right here. And what we want to happen is it to vacuum gifters. We want it to vacuum only gifters, preferably, so we don't lose some other stuff. And omegas as well. Gifters and omegas. I don't know which type you might have, but probably just that one, because that's what it starts with. So we wanted to vacuum those items. And right now that's a range of 6, which is not going to reach all the way. So I suggest putting some range upgrades in it. So after that, I want to make sure I have a dropper module and a sender module. Now this dropper module should be set down, but whitelisted gifters. So if it gets those gifters, it's going to vacuum them. It's going to then drop them down into the cauldron. And then a sender module. In this, it's going to send omegas somewhere special, I guess. Doesn't matter where. You just want it probably somewhere separately. You can also put this in here, this fast pickup augment, and some speed upgrades. So now we want to send it to, let's say right here. We're going to send it right there. So let's grab a sender and tell it to go there if we get an omega. So now we actually have to set this guy up to continue watering. So let's get an activator. And I use the router because I just find it a lot easier to use. So we want this activating up. And we're going to give it just a normal water bucket. Perfect. So now, let's grab some gifters. And let's imagine they just broke. It's picking them up very fast. And dumping them in here. And now let's imagine that this thing just made an omega. Okay, something's going wrong. Oh, I put the wrong type in there, that's why. There we go. And our omega's in there. Now don't forget that you have these camouflage upgrades. And you can actually cloak the routers to look like anything you want. Perfect, that's exactly what I like. And here it is after it's all cleaned up. Let's go ahead and try it out. Let's throw a few gifters in here. Nice. And there should still be 2 remaining because I gave myself 10. Perfect. And so none of them are actually doubling up in any of these routers because that would stop it from producing more because this inventory would be full. Perfect. And that is another completed build. Now, if this video helped you out, then be sure to leave a like. And if you have an idea on how to make it better or improve it, maybe make it smaller, less redstone, that'd be kind of hard. But leave that in the comments down below because I'd love to read through that stuff. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing because I do make content just like this just as often as I can because I do have a pretty busy schedule with work and whatnot. And a lot of my free time goes into making content that can hopefully help someone else in their playthrough. Anyways, that's it for now, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.